Most people hear the word hell and immediately picture burning lakes, demons with pitchforks, and endless screaming. But here's the thing. That image didn't come from Scripture. It came from Dante, medieval art, and Hollywood.
So you're saying the hell we all grew up imagining might not actually be in the Bible?
Not entirely. The concept exists, but the details, that's where it gets complicated. The Bible uses 3 completely different words, and most people lump them all together.
And that's the problem right there. We take a complex theological debate and turn it into a Netflix horror show.
Let's start with the basics. In the Old Testament, you have Sheol. In the New Testament, Hades and Gehenna. 3 different words, 3 different meanings.
Okay, so what's the difference?
Sheol literally means the place of the dead. Not a place of torture, just where dead people go. It's a holding place, neutral, waiting.
Think about it. When the righteous died in the Old Testament, they went to Sheol too. If Sheol was hell as we imagine it, why would righteous people go there?
So Sheol isn't the torture chamber everyone thinks it is?
Not at all. It's the grave, the realm of the dead. No moral distinction, no flames, just absence.
Then you get to the New Testament with Hades, and it's basically the same concept. A place of separation, not suffering.
None, but that's only 2/3 of the equation. What about when Jesus talks about fire and destruction? That's the scary stuff.
That's where Gehenna comes in. And here's where most preachers get it wrong.
Gehenna wasn't some mystical underworld. It was a real place. An actual valley outside Jerusalem.
Wait, like a physical location?
Exactly. The Valley of Hinnom. In Jesus' time, it was essentially Jerusalem's dump, where they burned garbage, refuse, and bodies of criminals.
So when Jesus says cast into Gehenna, he's using a visual that his audience understood immediately. It's the worst possible fate. Your body thrown into a burning garbage heap. No honor, complete destruction.
So the fire is metaphorical.
Not metaphorical, it's literal imagery with spiritual meaning. The fire represents judgment, complete annihilation, the end.
And this is where theology splits into 3 major camps. Because the Bible isn't entirely clear on what happens next.
3 camps? There's actual debate among scholars?
Serious debate. Camp 1 says conscious eternal torment. You suffer forever. Camp 2 says annihilation. You're destroyed, gone. Camp 3 says eternal separation from God. The punishment is the separation itself, not flames.
Most churches teach option 1 without even telling people the other options exist. That's the real scandal.
So which one is actually biblical?
That's the honest answer. The Bible supports aspects of all 3. Jesus uses language that could support each interpretation.
But here's what's interesting. When the Bible uses the word eternal, it often describes the result, not the process.
What do you mean?
Jude talks about eternal fire that destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. That fire happened once. It's not still burning, but the destruction is eternal, permanent, irreversible.
Exactly. The consequences are eternal. The punishment is forever. But that doesn't necessarily mean conscious suffering forever.
So someone could be annihilated, and that annihilation is eternal, permanent, but they're not actively suffering in flames for eternity?
That's one legitimate biblical interpretation, yes.
Here's what really bothers me, though. We've built entire theological systems, scared people half to death, and created guilt-based conversions, all on something the Bible doesn't fully explain.
Jesus must have been clear about it, right? He talks about hell more than anyone else in Scripture.
Jesus uses powerful imagery, weeping and gnashing of teeth, outer darkness, fire, but he never gives a detailed manual of what exactly happens or for how long.
Because that wasn't his point. His point was, rejection of God has severe consequences, final consequences. Don't miss this.
But the nature of those consequences, Jesus left that somewhat ambiguous.
Intentionally or not, yes. He paints the stakes as ultimate, but the specifics remain open to interpretation.
And medieval artists filled in the gaps. Dante filled in the gaps. And suddenly we have a detailed cosmology that's never explicitly stated in Scripture.
So what's the core truth here? If we strip away tradition in Hollywood, what does the Bible actually teach about hell?
That there is a final judgment. That rejection of God has real, irreversible consequences. That this consequence is described in terms of fire, darkness, separation, and destruction.
Beyond that, honest scholars disagree, and churches should tell people that instead of pretending absolute certainty.
That's actually refreshing. Most preachers act like they have a floor plan of the afterlife.
The medieval pictures are compelling. The fear is effective for conversions, but it's not faithful to what the text actually says.
And here's the uncomfortable part for traditional churches. If you base your theology of hell on artistic tradition rather than Scripture, what else are you basing on art?
That's going to make people uncomfortable.
Good, and they should be uncomfortable. They should ask questions.
The real conversation should be, what does God actually reveal? And where do we have to admit we don't know?
So if someone asks you point blank, will hell exist? What do you say?
I'd say, yes, there's judgment and consequence. Whether that's eternal conscious torment, annihilation, or separation, the Bible gives us images and warnings, but not a blueprint.
And if you build your entire faith on certainty about something the Bible doesn't explain in detail, you're building on sand.
That's a hard message for churches to hear, because fear has been their biggest selling point.
Exactly. And maybe that's the real crisis. Not what hell is, but why we've been so invested in making it as horrifying as possible.
Because a terrified convert is easier to control than a thinking believer.
So let that sink in.
So where do we go from here? How should people think about hell differently?
Take it seriously as a biblical concept, but study the original words. Understand the cultural context. Read what scholars actually say, not just what your church tells you.
Question the images you've been taught. Ask, where did this come from? Scripture or tradition? Direct revelation or medieval imagination?
And if the answer is tradition, then what?
Then you're allowed to think for yourself. You're encouraged to. The Bible demands it.
The goal isn't to make hell less scary so people feel comfortable rejecting God. The goal is to be honest about what Scripture actually teaches.
Here's the real question nobody wants to ask. If we've been wrong about hell, what else have churches taught with absolute confidence that's actually up for debate?
Purgatory? Heaven? The rapture?
All of it needs the same treatment. Original languages, historical context, honest exegesis.
Not blind tradition, not cultural Christianity, not fear-based theology.
As that's going to challenge a lot of people.
It should, that's the point.
Truth over comfort every time.
So what do you think? Are we wrong about hell? Should churches admit they don't have all the answers?
And if they don't, what does that mean for your faith?
Comment below. Share your thoughts. Because this conversation needs to happen. And it needs to happen honestly.
Drop a follow if you want us to break down the other controversial afterlife topics. Purgatory, the rapture, universal reconciliation.
Some sacred cows are about to fall.
See you in the next one.